Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's the Expanse character analysis for James Holden. This video is the first in a series of videos where I analyze a character from the Expanse and explore that character's character journey. In this video, I will be looking at James Holden. These videos, I will be exclusively looking at the character as portrayed in the Expanse TV show only, and will not consider how the character was portrayed in the novels. So I have to start with a spoiler warning for the Expanse up to the end of Season 4. If you haven't seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, James Holden, in many ways, is the hero of the story of The Expanse. Although The Expanse is more of an ensemble piece and tries not to give any one character more screen time than the others, in many ways Holden is portrayed as the main character, or at least the audience's go-to surrogate. Holden comes from a relatable and humble background, having been raised on a farm in Montana, although he did come from a cooperative and had 8 parents who each contributed genetic material to his conception, which is not so relatable, but in a way, it is a way to put a futuristic spin on this character while establishing the kind of world Earth is at this time. However, in many ways, James Holden is a paragon of good. He is free from the prejudices that plague almost all the other characters of The Expanse, and doesn't see people as Belters or Earthers or Martians, but just as people. And in many cases, he totally rejects the notion of sides, insisting that humans need to pull together for the betterment of the human race. But at the same time, he does have a tendency to stick up for the little guy and thumb his nose at authority figures or those more powerful who would attempt to take advantage of those more vulnerable. So in those ways, he would seem to be more like the stereotypical sci-fi hero stereotype. However, there is a lot of nuance to this character as well. In many ways, he could be described as naive, as his views of people being people and they should just pull together will sometimes make him ignorant or lead him to ignore the finer political nuances involved. He also has the attitude that it's better for the public to have all the information in order to prevent those with power from acting in bad faith covertly, not realizing that situations of intelligence and politics are often more complex than that. In fact, we first meet James Holden aboard the Canterbury. He's extremely apathetic and unambitious. His prior experiences with being dishonorably discharged from the UN Navy for trying to punch a superior officer made him jaded. Ironically, at this stage, he looked at his younger self who served in the UNN as naive and stupid. He had absolutely no ambitions to speak of and wasn't concerned with helping others or the greater politics of the system. He simply wanted to live a simple life on an ice hauler and take it easy. He even refused a promotion when the captain tried to make him the executive officer. But the first incident that really challenged him and changed him was when the Canterbury was destroyed, which was involved in the proto-molecule conspiracy, which at first just led him on a quest for revenge. But once they learned this was part of a larger conspiracy with larger implications for people's lives, he took the call to action and became more of a leader he was capable of being. He won over the devotion of his fellow crew members, including Amos Burton, who at first doubted his abilities to the point where they completely trusted him and they trusted in his abilities as captain. However, he still had a sense of naivete, as he was completely against killing people, even when it may be justified, as he clashed with Amos and Detective Miller over killing needlessly. The biggest example of this is when Miller killed an unarmed, defenseless man in cold blood. However, the man in question was responsible for the deaths of millions of Belters who he killed callously in the name of science and tried to justify his actions. So it is actually ambiguous to whether or not Miller did the right thing by murdering this man. A strong argument could be made that he did, but Holden wouldn't hear any of it. So in some ways, Holden is a bit limited by his black and white vision of what right and wrong is. A defining moment for him, however, was the time he spent on Eros, when that station's entire population was killed in a brutal experiment with the protomolecule. An experience that he barely escaped from with his life, and that he has to take cancer meds for the rest of his life for. This was a really traumatic experience for him, and it really dimmed his views on humanity. In this case, a large corporation used their resources to needlessly and callously kill millions in the name of bettering humanity. This led to Holden suffering from PTSD when he encountered the protomolecule again in the form of the hybrids. He became obsessed with wiping out all traces of the protomolecule to the point where he disregarded his own life and the lives of others. The notion of caring for others and looking out for the little guy was abandoned as he disregarded Prax's need to find his daughter, as he was hyper-focused on wiping out the protomolecule, which clearly terrified him. However, his friends and crewmates Alex, Naomi, and Amos eventually brought him back from this state and made him realize what was really important. But then came the betrayal of Naomi when she confessed to having lied about destroying their sample of the protomolecule and instead had given it to Fred Johnson of the OPA. The whole crew took this betrayal very poorly, but none worse than Holden, who had loved her. However, the traumatic events of the protomolecule hybrids combined with Naomi's betrayal made Holden revert to a sense of apathy as he once again refused to get involved in any larger politics of the system when Avasarala asked for his help in stopping the war between Earth and Mars. And Avasarala had to talk him back into being the champion of those more vulnerable that he could be. However, he did retain a sense of wanting to do what good he could and realized that he had neglected Prax in his time of need and vowed to help him find his daughter. And it turned out that they were able to do both, help Prax reunite with his daughter and stop the war between Earth and Mars. Thus Holden regained his confidence, and although he reconciled with Naomi, she decided that it was time for her to leave the Rocinante to rejoin her people. Holden then had his sanity tested during the situation with the ring gates when he started seeing visions of the now deceased Detective Miller. At first he thought he was infected by the protomolecule, and then he thought maybe he was going insane, but then he realized that this Miller was in fact real and it was the protomolecule trying to communicate with him. This brought a strain on his relationship with his crew when at the same time Clarissa Mao was trying to frame him for blowing up a UNN ship, and his crewmates started to doubt him. But ultimately the trust he had earned with them was so strong that Amos and Alex believed him enough to follow him into the ring gates. However, Holden then took it on himself to take the risk in exploring the alien space, not wanting to put his friends at risk, which proved pointless as everyone who was in the ring space was then put at risk anyway. And he was arrested by the Martians and then held by Belters and treated like he was insane when he knew from a vision that he saw how dangerous this technology was, and it was capable of wiping out all of humanity everywhere unless they proved to this technology that they were not a threat. After being reunited with Naomi, Holden once again was on a righteous mission, this time to save all of humanity by trying to convince others not to give in to their fear, that powering down was the best thing to do. And while he wasn't able to convince everyone of this, people like Klaus Ashford, He was able to convince the woman who was so determined to discredit and kill him, Clarissa Mao, who ultimately helped him to power down the behemoth and thus save humanity. And so Holden was once again reunited with his crew, and he was once again captain of the Rocinante, and has now gained a system-wide reputation of being a hero and a man of integrity. He then takes on a mission from Avasarala to investigate a strange alien world beyond the ring gates that Belter refugees tried to settle and that an Earth corporation had staked a legal claim to. At first, he kind of went back to his ways of being obsessed with the protomolecule, although in a more rational and less fear-driven way, as while on Illis, he was more concerned with all the strange alien artifacts coming to life and was blind to the social strife and conflict brewing between the Belter colonists and the RCE security team. However, once this conflict had boiled over, Holden finally took notice and tried unsuccessfully to negotiate a peace between the two factions. But it soon became obvious to Holden that the RCE security chief, Mertry, was another bad actor who cared nothing about people's lives and was in it solely for profit. With the help of Miller, Holden found a way to deactivate the alien technology there that would save everyone's lives who were put in danger, but this interfered with Mertry's profits, so Mertry tried to stop Holden. Holden defeated Mertry, but when given the same opportunity that Miller had been given with Dresden, Holden decided not to kill Mertry, even though he had more than enough cause to do so, and instead took him back to stand trial on Earth. Doing so was kind of a moral victory for Holden, as it proved Mertry wrong, as he had the philosophy that the frontier was a lawless place where violence won the day, but Holden proved that humanity could still hold on to their morals and sense of justice even in the face of adversity. Holden also said goodbye to the protomolecule version of Miller, who he had saw as a burden this whole time. He now had to acknowledge that humanity would never have survived without him, and thus he was actually a blessing and not an annoyance. And so James Holden, as he is now at the end of Season 4, is wiser, more seasoned than he was at the start of the show. He's still a man of high morals, arguably even more so, even though at times this stance was tested and had weakened. His experiences has hardened him, however, and made him more world-weary and less naive. While he still has a very optimistic and positive outlook on humanity in the future, he is more aware of humanity's failings and the harsh realities that come with space exploration. He has earned the love and respect of his crewmates, Naomi, Alex, and Amos, more than ever, and their bond is stronger than it has ever been. He's also become famous in the system, seen as a hero to some and as a naive fool to others. Holden still strives to do what is right for all, but is a bit smarter about how he goes about doing it. So that's it for my character analysis for James Holden. I will be back every month with another character analysis for a character from the Expanse, so be sure to check out my channel for that. Also check out my channel for more videos on other shows like Star Trek and more, so be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.